All right, welcome. Today we are talking about reflections. This is the second in our set of videos on transformations. So when we think of reflections, we often think of looking in a mirror, seeing an image of the same object, only looking at the object in reverse or backwards. So this is going to be kind of the same deal. We are going to take our given triangle. Remember, the points they give us are the preimage, and we're going to create an image by reflecting the triangle across various lines. So if we look at our table, they gave us a set of points. I went ahead and drew an x and y axis in case we need to use negative numbers. When we were doing translations, it was a bit more open-ended for us, so we didn't end up needing to use the negatives. So what I'm doing here is just plotting the 3 points that they gave us. And we can connect them to make our preimage triangle. And we'll go ahead and label the points just like we did in our previous lesson. Okay, so here's our preimage. If we look at the notes, it says to do a reflection over the x-axis. So we want to take this triangle and we want to flip it over where the x-axis is exactly in between the old points and the new points. So the x-axis goes across. I want all of my things to flip across that line. So if point C is 7 points above the axis, now it'll be 7 points below. Point B is 1 point above the axis, now it's 1 point below. And then point A, same thing, it's going to be 2 points below. We're going to connect our dots. And we will want to label our points. And just like we were talking about in our previous video, we want to use the same letters we just used, only we want to put the little tick marks behind them to indicate that this is an image and not the original point. Okay, so if we locate our points on the red triangle, we can figure out the rule that we use for this translation, or sorry, this reflection. And so if we notice, the only thing that happened was that the y's all switched from positive to negative. Otherwise, we have the same coordinates. So to note that in our rule, we're going to say that we kept the x's the same, but we changed the y's to become negative. Then we want to reflect across the line over the y-axis. The y-axis goes up and down. So we're going to want our points to be flipped a cross, so like over here somewhere. Do that the same way, only instead of counting spaces down, we're counting across. Looks like I put that a little bit too far over. And then all right. So there's our points. Let's connect the dots to make our green triangle. And there we go. So again, we want to label with the same 3 letters. But we want to use the little tick marks so that we know that this figure has been transformed and that the ones with the marks are our image. Alright, so there is our triangle. We look at the new points, right? The y's are all the same. This time it's the x's that flipped around. So this is going to be negative x, comma y. Alright, so the next one to look at is what happens when we need to flip our figure diagonally. So it tells us we need to reflect across the line y equals x. So we probably want to draw that line first, so we can see how everything needs to flip. Okay, so just like before, we're going to take the original points and make sure that they're moved across the line of reflection. But in this time, instead of going left to right or up and down, we're going to need to go diagonally. So what I'm going to do is count the number of spaces to get to the line. And then instead of just crossing through it, I'm going to go at an angle. So I went over 1, which means I need to go up 1. Here I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, and then go up 1, 2, 3. Connect my lines. There we go. And once again, we can label all of our points. So if we did it right, the yellow line should be right in the middle, and it looks like it is. So if we find our new points, it looks like A wound up at 2, 3. B wound up at 1 and 8. And C wound up at 7, 10. So as we can see, we went with the same points, but our X's and Y's all switched places. So our new pattern is, instead of XY, is Y, X. So I will let you handle reflecting over the line y equals negative x on your own. Again, draw the negative diagonal line and make sure that your image points are equidistant from the line and on the opposite side. Right, that's all I have for today. I will see you guys in class.